Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Surah Al-Maa'idah, ayah number 8. قال الله تعالى: يا أيها الذين آمنوا كونوا قوامين لله شهداء بالقسط ولا يجرمنكم شنآن قوم على ألا تعدلوا اعدلوا هو أقرب للتقوى واتقوا الله إن Allah khabirun bima ta'malun. Now this ayah is similar to ayah number 135 of Surah An-Nisa. So we will refer the listener, akramakallah, to that ayah. Let's take what is new. He says, لا يجرمنكم أي لا يحملنكم, meaning to say to cause to do something. Shana'an means bughd or hatred, as in the ayah, Inna shani'aka huwa al-abtar. The one who hates you will be cut off. So shana'an means hatred. Do not let your hatred of a people cause you or make you to avoid justice. So that means to say, just because the Muslims may hate the kuffar, because the kuffar have wronged the Muslimin and have tortured them, just because you hate the kuffar does not now give you some sort of permission to betray the kuffar if you have made an agreement with them, or to kill their women and children, or other people who are not fighting you. Do not let the hatred of a people make you avoid justice. And this is a great rule for us to remember. He says, be just. This is closer to taqwa. Now when he says closer to taqwa, it has to be understood correctly, which is that it does not mean that being just is closer to taqwa, but being unjust is not as close to taqwa. But there is some goodness in being unjust. No, this is not the intended meaning, of course. What it intends to say is that being just is taqwa, and being unjust has got nothing to do with taqwa whatsoever. It's the opposite of taqwa. And we see this style of speech many times in the Quran, as in Ashabul Jannati yawma idhin khayrun mustaqarran wa ahsanu maqila, and other than that. And he says that Allah is khabir of what you do. So khabir is the one who has not only outward knowledge but also inner knowledge as well of your inner thoughts and convictions and secret matters like these. So reflecting on this ayah, we take the importance of al-ikhlas. So when you stand for justice and establish justice, you're doing it for Allah Jalla wa Ala. You're not doing it for anyone else. It is because Allah has commanded you, and it is that Allah rewards those who establish justice. We also find the obligation of testifying to the truth and not being deceptive and mendacious, and always upholding justice, as that is what Allah Jalla wa Ala enjoins. And it is also at this point worth noting that the deen of Islam is a deen of adl. The word used in the ayah is qist, which means justice. Also adl is used in the ayah as well. So it is a deen of adl. It is not a deen of musawa, equality, which is what the kuffar are infatuated with. So it is vital that the Muslims do not fall into this trap. We also find the obligation of having taqwa, as he gives this order. And we also find that Allah knows all things, even the secret matters. And this is a threat, of course, to those people who do not have taqwa, that Allah Jalla wa Ala knows your inner convictions and your intentions, and would thus take you to account for your actions and for your evil intentions which you have made. And number 9, وَعَدَ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ لَهُمْ مَغْفِرَةٌ وَأَجْرٌ عَظِيمٌ. This ayah is straightforward and simple enough. وَعَدَ يَعِدُ وَعْدًا, to promise. To promise means to inform someone that you will do something good to them. Allah promises those who believe, meaning have iman and work righteousness, that they will have maghfirah. We have spoken about this, forgiveness, from the word maghfar, meaning helmet, and an ajrun azim, a great reward. Ajr means wages. So your reward is expressed as a wage, because you work and then you deserve your wages, which is the reward, of course, in Jannah. And so this gives an idea that Allah has made it obligatory upon Himself to pay you your due wages. Just like if a person works for you, a painter or a decorator or a builder, working in your house, it is an obligation upon you to pay the worker their wages. Now the word wa'ad, meaning promise, can also be used in a negative sense, so that would carry the meaning of threat or wa'id. The word wa'id has the same root letters as wa'ada. For example, in Surah Al-Hajj, قُلْ أَفَأُنَبِّئُكُمْ بِالشَّرٍّ مِّن ذَلِكُمْ النَّارُ وَعَدَهَا اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا وَبِئْسَ الْمَصِيرُ. Say, should I inform you to something which is worse than that? The fire which Allah has promised the disbelievers, and what a terrible destination. So here the word wa'ad is definitely used in the negative context, and it carries the meaning of the word threat. Also note when he says وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ, they work righteousness. Salihat is a sifa, it's a description, but what is it describing? It's describing the word al-a'mal, which means actions, but the word a'mal is not stated explicitly because it is implied, and of course this happens much in the Quran. So reflecting on this ayah, we find the virtue of iman and righteous actions. Righteous actions can only be righteous if they are done for Allah Jalla wa Ala, not for anyone else, not to impress others, or not because everyone else is doing it so you want to fit in, or any of these types of reasons, but rather they are for Allah Jalla wa Ala alone, because Allah has commanded you, because He is pleased with such actions, and you are trying to gain His pleasure and also His reward. We also take that just having iman in your heart, meaning just the mere belief, is not good enough. It has to be backed up with actions, and that if you do not have any actions and you claim to believe, then what we say is that your actions are contradicting your claims, and we will believe your actions, not your claims, because actions speak louder than words. So a person says that he believes, and yet he performs no salah. Such a person has in fact not believed, because had he believed, it would necessitate that he would be performing the salah. We also take that the reward of the believers and workers of righteousness is great, azim. Then one might ask, how great exactly? The answer is, we do not know, because we have never seen it, obviously, and neither have we seen anything similar to it. All we know is that it is great, and it is more than what we could imagine. Ayah number 10. وَالَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا وَكَذَّبُوا بِآيَاتِنَا أُولَئِكَ أَصْحَابُ الْجَحِيمِ. Again, this ayah has straightforward words which we have met before. It says those who kafaru, that is to say reject al-Islam. Kufr means to be ungrateful, because those who reject Allah Jalla wa Ala and do not worship Him are ingrates. وَكَذَّبُوا, and belie. So kadhib is a lie. So kadhabu means to belie, to claim something is a lie. Those who belie our ayat, this would include ayat shar'iyya and ayat kawniyya. The mushrikun would not belie the ayat kawniyya. They would agree that Allah Jalla wa Ala is the creator and the manager of the affairs, but they would belie the Quran though. They would say that this is not from Allah. He says ulaika, those people. Notice ulaika. He does not say haulai, these people, those, meaning far away, because they are far away from the mercy of Allah Jalla wa Ala. They are the ashab, meaning the companions. So a companion is someone who sticks with you. It's not just someone who meets you for 5 minutes and then will never see you again. Rather, such a person is someone who sticks with you. So they are going to stick with the jahim, another word for the fire. So reflecting on this ayah, we find, like we find in many places of the Quran, that when Allah Jalla wa Ala mentions Jannah or reward, He also mentions the fire or punishment, and thereby He keeps a balance. And this tells us that the Muslim needs to be balanced in all affairs of life, and that includes having hope in Allah and fear, because the ayat of reward evoke hope and the ayat of punishment evoke fear, and so the Muslim has hope and fear, thereby remaining balanced. One without the other is never good. And then there is some debate amongst the scholars as to which one is better, hope and fear, and you have differing answers for differing circumstances and contexts, and we have spoken about this matter elsewhere. It is possible for us to take from this ayah as well that the kuffar will be in the fire forever, because he says ashabun nar, the companions of the fire, so they will stick to it, as in will not leave it. Ayah number 11. Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu udhkuru ni'mata Allahi alaykum idh hamma qawmun an yabsutu ilaykum aydiyahum fakaffa aydiyahum ankum wattaqu allaha wa ala Allahi falyatawakkal al-mu'minun. So again he begins with the famous call, and here he says, Udhkuru, remember the ni'mah, the favor of Allah upon you. So what favor is he referring to? He goes on to mentioning it, idh meaning when in the past, hamma qawmun. So hamma means to be resolved to do something. So a people, they were resolved to stretching out their hands to you. This would be the literal translation. So yabsutu, from basata yabsutu, to spread out. It's an expression to say that they were resolved on harming you, not just merely literally stretching out their hands to you. He says, فَكَفَّ أَيْدِيَهُمْ, he restrained their hands, from kaffa yakuffu, to restrain something. And he says, have taqwa of Allah, and upon Allah let the believers place their trust. Tawakkul, meaning to trust, as in to rely upon Allah to bring about benefit or ward off harm whilst undertaking the necessary measures. Now one might ask about this ayah, is Allah speaking about a particular event? Well, the best thing that we can say about this is that there were many occasions where the kuffar tried to harm or kill the Prophet and the Muslimin, and they failed because Allah protected them. It was not just one occasion but many occasions. However, in the tafsir we do find some examples. So for example, the famous one where the Prophet ﷺ went to Banu Nadir, the Jewish tribe, so that they could contribute some money for blood money that the Prophet was collecting, as one of the Muslims had unjustly killed somebody. And Banu Nadir said, yes, we will bring you the money, just sit over here. And as the Prophet and some of his companions were sitting, one of the Yahud tried to throw a grindstone on the Prophet, trying to kill him. But Allah Jalla wa Ala informed the Prophet of the machinations of the Yahud, and the Prophet evaded the grindstone, and eventually, of course, expelled the Banu Nadir from Al-Madinah. There's another example that is given. The Prophet was on a journey with his companions, and they were resting in the shade under a tree. They hung their weapons up, and along comes a man, seemingly from nowhere, and takes the Prophet's sword, which was hung up, and points it at the Prophet, telling him, who will save you from me? And the Prophet replied, Allah. And he asked this question 2 or 3 times with the same response. And eventually the man lost his fervor and his drive to kill the Prophet and put the sword back. And the Prophet called his companions and told them about what happened, and decided not to punish this man. However, these are examples. They are not an exhaustive list. Okay, so reflecting on this ayah, we take that it is obligatory for every Muslim to reflect and remember the favors of Allah upon him. It could be all sorts of things, whether it be obvious things like your health and your wealth and your family and your deen, or other things like when Allah saved you from a calamity, or those times when you felt you were fortunate. We also find that Allah preventing the kuffar from harming you is from the ni'mah of Allah, which requires thanks. And we also learn the obligation of having tawakkul on Allah Jalla wa Ala. It is an ibadah, and it is from your iman, because look how he says, upon Allah let the believers place their trust. So he links tawakkul to iman. So if you are a believer, you will have tawakkul. If you are not a believer, you're not going to have tawakkul on Allah Jalla wa Ala, though you may have tawakkul on other than Allah. هذا والله أعلم.